All right, you ready to rock?
Yeah, man.
Cool. What's going on? Welcome back to Kickin with Podcast. My name is Zac Holcomb. This is episode 37, and today I've got Jesse Harrison with me. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, good.
Good.
Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming in. Got to do the grand tour, walk around, and check everything out. I appreciate you taking the time to do that with us. It's always fun.
Yeah. I love seeing what you got going on, even though I don't understand it.
For sure. Yeah, we showed them the melted plastics game. We showed them the photography, a little bit of everything. So
yeah.
We're trying, man. Trying to be as diversified as possible. Try and capitalize on everything. Trying to get that influencer marketing gig going I was telling you about earlier. Man, it's going to be awesome. So
I can't help you there.
Yeah,
I'm not an influencer.
You'd be amazed, man. That's what's funny we've noticed about this is like you just never know what's going to happen with them. Like some people like get tons of views and you wouldn't have expected it, and then like some people have come through and we're like, I'm like that's a banger. Like that one's going to be a banger.
I get two.
And then you get like 2
views. Yeah. So, hey, after tonight, it could change.
Yeah, you never know. We've got good momentum going, so we might be all right. We might be all right. So, anywho, I'm going to hit the sponsors really quickly. We got 2 sponsors on this episode, and if you want to be a sponsor on this episode, it's a whole new thing we're doing. So hit me up on that. You can just shoot me a message on Facebook or whatever. But yeah, we're going to start opening it up a little bit and offer some opportunities to other companies or individuals or events or different random fun things. Or if you just want to have me shout out like your friend for their birthday, I don't know, but maybe you'd be into that. But anywho, first sponsor of the show is Big Park social media company, website creator, all that type of fun stuff. So if you've got a little business going and you're like, man, I need a nice, sexy website or something like that, Big Bark Social can help you out with that. If you want to like do some Facebook posts or have a little social media presence, but you hate doing it or you're hot and cold and you do it and then you don't, we can help you with that too. So that's Big Bark Social. Second sponsor of the show, and then we'll move on because this is really boring for everyone. Additive America, plastics manufacturer. We help people basically with short run productions of like usually plastic parts. So if you're out there or you're prototyping something or you just know a guy or a gal that happens to be an engineer at a large company and you're not sure if they would be interested or not, connect the dots for us. That would be great. Really appreciate that. So you never know who actually needs plastic parts. Because most people are like, I don't know who would need that, but it just takes one, man. Just takes one. It's a big fish game, which is kind of cool. So
right.
And
somebody a bite.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
It's all. If I score one client off of this podcast a year for Additive America, it should work out just great. So
yeah.
That's how that kind of works. So it's kind of like selling RVs, man. It's not something that you want to do it every day, but.
Well, actually, we do want to do it every day, but we don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you keep slinging it up against the wall, something sticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a numbers game.
Absolutely. War of attrition, man. War of attrition.
Yeah. It's you can't figure it out. You
know?
I mean, it's you can't go based on numbers from last year, what you did in January or February. Yeah. To this year. It's just always a moving target. So.
Is that something like that? No, obviously, like the whole world is in different arrays right now in the last 2 or 3 years with everything that's happened. But like, is that generally something you've seen? It may be a great January this year, and then you just never know, or is it? There's some pattern. Obviously, you got the weather has to help, right?
Yeah, but that's the joy of living in North Carolina.
It's always
too, versus living out west where it's hard to get excited about buying a new car or a camper with snow all over it. You know. Yeah. I've been in sales 25 years. It seems like the world's been in a disarray for 25 years. So it's
good point.
I don't know. We've been through what they used to call a pre-recession, a recession. Yeah. Something, this and that. You just figure it out. You just have to adjust. Mm-hmm. It's, so I mean, we're consistent. We do about the same numbers every year. Obviously, the last 2 years. Everybody's numbers have been good, better. So we'll see. I'll come back at the end of 2023 and tell you how it shows out.
Yeah, because this is the year that's going to really tell, I think, a little bit.
I think we've already had a good January, February. People, and this is not my line, but people are going to spend money on their hobbies.
Yep.
Whether it's fishing, bowling, camping, whatever that is, boating, that's what we get up and go to work for, you know? I mean, so there's a certain amount, people might not drive as far, you know, to do it, but they're going to do it. And so with the camping, people, they use it for a lot of different things. Travel ball, family vacations, permanent. Some people live in them. Some people use them. We sell to guys that do power plant shutdowns. You know, they get a per diem per day, so it makes a lot more sense.
Nice.
But it's not just one area that we kind of, you know, sell to. It's a big pool of people. So.
Yeah, pretty diverse game of people that are using them, especially here recently, man, with like the whole like working remote and stuff. Like life has gotten a lot of people. That's my favorite thing about the whole deal of 2020 is we all got kind of like forced to use all this technology that's already kind of really been available. So like more people that are able to take, you know, like not be in the office every day. So yeah, having a little spot down at the beach or having something located in the mountains is a really cool little gig.
Yeah, it's and I tell you, when the pandemic started, we were kind of like everybody else. We were scared. We didn't know if we were going to be able to be open, you know, because it was kind of, that's the time, hey, shut your doors. I remember contacting a friend of mine that's in, you know, politics. Well, he said, stay open until somebody comes and makes you shut the door.
Yeah, amen.
And then it was like 2 weeks later, boom, you know, it's like everybody wants to go camping.
Yeah, that worked out.
Wants to go boating. And so I was like, well, just lucky.
Guess we're essential now.
Yeah, so then it's kind of like, because I remember my sales rep calling me. He's like, hey, man, he said, we got some RVs built. He said, and I still got to make a living, you know what I mean? And at that time, nobody was really, people were scared to buy stuff at the sale. And I remember this one particular, I bought a motorhome. I was like, man, I don't know if I should have done that or not, but I rolled the deal and rolled the dice on it and got it back. And I bought another unit that day at the sale. And I was telling you about that earlier. Mm-hmm. I just like doing that. That's outside of what we kind of do there at the office. And just kind of a challenge, just trying to find a unique piece. Mm-hmm. And anyway, we got both the pieces back. And this was kind of weird. One of the campers, the small one, we shot down to Louisiana. Guy bought it over the phone. He said, never done nothing like this before. And I said, well, I'll kind of, walk you through it. I said, it's a pretty easy process. I think he was probably nervous until it showed up, because he's like dealing with this guy from North Carolina. Yeah. And he wired us the money, before he got the camper. And I was like, well, I can't take the camper until, we get the money. Right. He called me and said, hey, it looks even better than, I said, well, I didn't want you calling and cussing me out. And then on the motorhome, a guy from St. Louis, Missouri, him and his wife flew in and picked it up. But I said all that to say this, because back there at that time, you just didn't know what the future held. Not that you ever do, but, and then my sales rep, he called, he said, man, I got some campers. He said, we still need to make a living. I said, I don't know if I really want to buy a lot right now. And anyway, they made me a good deal on them, and I bought them. I just couldn't resist. 6 months later, I'm like, man, have you got any more of those, deals?
At that deal? Yeah, at that price.
Nothing. There was nothing, and you couldn't get, they won't discount anything. No. They didn't even want to talk to you. It was like shooting fish in a barrel, hey, we got this, you want it? And so you have no way, you don't have the crystal ball to know,
you never know.
But I was a little concerned in the beginning because we just didn't know, and then all of a sudden it makes, and the talking heads or the professionals didn't see it coming either. Mm-hmm. Everybody was surprised about it in the RV industry and the boating industry. I'm not on the marine side of it, but we're kind of in the same field there, so you kind of hear about it. But we didn't realize we were set up for social distancing, and then all of a sudden, hey, this works out good. And we bought a campground, right? And I think that's why the people sold it, is because COVID had scared them. And
it made them unsure.
Yeah, and so here we are. We come in,
like yes,
and buy it. We didn't steal it or nothing, but and so anyway, I mean, it's just kind of, I don't know, if you watch the news too much, you want to go sit in the closet, you know what I mean, exactly. and do nothing. So
exactly.
But, and people talk, I'll tell you this real quick. Now, I'll let you get to whatever. But I went in this local shop last Thursday. We get our supplies and stuff from. I was in there getting some printer cartridge and something else, maybe a daily planner. And we do business with, this guy. And walk in, and he's sitting down, and he's like, oh, man, he said, gas prices going up, interest rates going up. He said, what do you think? I was like, well, you seem to be a little bit more worried about it than I do. I was like, you sell the pen and the paper and let us sell the campers. And I said, well, I said, most of our customers, they're kind of retirees, I said, gas prices, I mean, everybody has to deal with it, People are still going to travel. They might not travel as far. And this was on Thursday, and go back to the office, and Friday, within the next 24 hours, we sold like 3 campers. I was like, well, I mean, he just, I mean, some people, I guess maybe it's just a topic of conversation, but I don't know. Sometimes I think some people just think the world is just coming to an end.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I'm not that much, haven't experienced a whole ton of life, but like, I feel like that's a real thing of like, you can really suffer by paralysis by analysis. Like, you can do so much analyzing of the numbers and the climate of different things and the political stuff, and then really just, I mean, you could find a reason to not do anything for a really long time if you were looking at it that way.
And some people, that's their hobby, is finding an excuse not to do something.
That's
Guy in there the other day, he was like 72, maybe I'm guessing 72 or 3 years old. He said, I'm wait till we get another president in the office. I was like, it may be the same guy. I said, you may not even be here. I may not be. If you're basing your life on that, then I mean, good luck to you. But you can't. I mean, because it's and I'm probably too optimistic. I look at the weather report and it says it's going to rain 100%, and I was like, we still probably got a good shot.
The sun will poke out at least for 20 minutes. Yeah.
And so I don't know, and I'm not saying I'm right, but I just don't. That's just kind of the way I approach things. It's and everybody's got their own way of doing. But I'm not a numbers guy. I don't look at. I look at some numbers, as far as on what we do, but I don't pay attention to what we did a year ago. That's gone. I mean,
right.
It's like you can't spend that money but one time,
No, that's right. Yeah,
and it's but so we've been there long enough that we're consistent. So I know what to expect there. So it's kind of due to gas prices and interest rates, they affect us all, But we're conditioned. I mean, I remember we built our first house, I think it was 98, 99. I remember the attorney, did you know Fred Harrison? He just passed away maybe a couple of weeks ago. I just saw it. Anyway, I remember him telling us when we were doing our loan closing, it was like a construction loan, and the bank was crazy enough to let me build my own house. We're coming out of a single wide and we're building a house. And I remember the rates were like 6.5%. Okay. Everybody was just going, like, man, now's the time to build. You better do it because they could go up. They hadn't been this low since forever. And so it was like the best thing since sliced bread. And then they keep falling and falling and falling. And so then we get conditioned to 2 and 3% on a 15-year note or 20-year.
Yeah.
And so now, I don't know where rates are at. I don't really pay attention to that on the real estate side, but I'm thinking 5 to 6%, maybe 6%.
Yeah, probably 6.
So we're right back to where that sweet spot was.
Yeah.
Where 25 years ago,
the best
if you're going to do something, now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Now the difference was building materials were way cheaper back then.
That is for sure. Yeah.
Where that's changed now. But so I would love to have 0%. I tell customers, I say, I'll throw a banner across the highway out there.
Yeah, right.
I don't get to make that decision. We all get the same, deal there. So, but people are still going to buy campers and boats and cars and build houses, I mean, people been complaining about the building prices, the last 2 years.
cost of building and stuff. Yeah,
they were still building.
Yep.
That's probably at the highest it's ever been at per square foot. Yeah,
especially in major cities, man. They're cranking. Like up in Columbus, they're going bonkers on building houses up there, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the house prices up there from when we left 3.5 years ago, and it just makes me want to throw up. So I sold my house for what I sold my house for. I'm like, oh my God, I could almost get twice as much for it now. Like, that's such an astonishing number.
I know. Well, and again, I just don't have that crystal ball.
Yeah, you would never know. I remember, so like in 2017, I think. Yeah, 2017, we were selling our first house, and we, everyone told me I couldn't get like 165 for it. I was like, I'm getting it. And we got like 165, like 160. And we were like, we went into contract, and we were like, for 30 days, we were like, nervous. I just hope this thing sells before this market crashes. That's probably a $240,000 house now. I'm like,
probably.
Dang, dang it. And then, it's just one of those things, man. You just never know. But yeah, I was like playing that game too back in that day, being like, man, it's about to crash. It's going up too much. It's going up too much. It's going up too much. It's got to pull back eventually. And that was in 2017, 2018. And I was like nervous about it. Stuff still, I mean, maybe now it's pulling back a little bit, like not really. It's still, I mean, inflation and some things happen because of, to help it continue to go that way. But you just never really know. You got to live somewhere.
Yeah, you do. And I remember it hadn't been that long ago. And I'm not talking about Kinston. I mean, I love it, but I partook in some of the deals. But you were able to buy houses around here
very cheap
for, I'm gonna say, $45 to $55 a square foot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
had an abundance of inventory, and that won't because I knew. I just remember people talking about it. And there was a lot of houses on the market. Mm-hmm. So that's been one of the good things for the real estate. I'm gonna say the inflation, some of the good stuff. I think the value is where it should be, probably back in Lenore County, because that was not a true value.
Dude, when we were thinking about moving here, that was our thing. We were like, it is so cheap to live there. Like, how can you even have a house for sale for $120,000 and it's move-in ready? Like, you have to paint the walls. Whoop-de-freaking do. Like, wow. And then now I'm with you. I think that now it's about where it should be. Like, it's just now. So that's in contrast of like, what you can get here now is about what the prices were in Columbus when we left. And so now here is like priced the way Columbus was when we left in 2019.
Yeah.
And Columbus now is just bonkers, stupid, dumb, crazy high. But that's what I think. I'm with you on that in like the Lenore County or in the Kinston area and stuff. Like, this is just about where it should be, really.
And thankfully for the people that have owned property here for a long time and probably saw it go down and now seen it come up, good for them, because that's where a lot of people's
the biggest investment
net worth, is in. So it was all I could do not to say, we had rental property, and I was like, but I didn't, and anybody that knows me knows that was really hard for me, because I'm like put a for sale sign on it and let it roll. But it was just kind of because the values had come up. But it's so that it's good to see the real estate stuff. You're not stealing anything right now, anywhere,
Nope.
And
Agreed.
I remember it was kind of wild hearing some of the stories, and we get a lot of customers from Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro area, and this guy, he come down. I had put a hitch on Craigslist. I think it's where it was at. A used hitch. I don't know how I wound up with it. We just come across stuff, and he come down there and bought a hitch. It was several $100. I don't know what it was. Ends up, he calls me back and buys a $70,000 fifth wheel off of a used hitch. So I was like, this is like a really cool deal. And so I talked to him a couple of weeks later. He said, sold my house. I said, well, I don't remember you talking about that. He said, we got so much money for it. I don't think he realized. He said, but here was the weird thing. The buyer put $50,000 due diligence down on the deal. So if they walk away, from what I understand,
it's gone.
That money's gone. And that's not money you borrowed. That's something that they struck a check for. And so it's a win-win for him. I was like, I would have let it roll too. The problem is replacing it.
Yeah.
Because you make bank here, But you're going to have to spend it over here unless you got somewhere already to go.
Yep.
But and I think that's going to, and again, we were talking earlier, I don't even have a college education, so I'm just running my mouth. But I think that's going to be the difference this time around versus like the '08 where houses were foreclosing, because people were able to get a loan if you had a pulse.
Exactly. Yep.
They had to document income. They didn't have to show any documentation.
Yeah, it was pretty much free.
Yeah, and so that's where I think you had a bunch of the foreclosures and where this time around, if somebody's putting a $50,000 due diligence check or even a $5,000, that's a credit-worthy customer that's got money to put down. They got some skin in the game.
Yep. They're invested.
They're not going to walk away. I mean, most time now, I know there's times where stuff happens where people can't, but I just feel like everybody keeps saying there's going to be a bunch of this and a bunch of that. I don't know.
I see it more in the auto industry than in the homes this time around, because I'm with you, the same exact thing. My dad does a ton of rentals and flips in Ohio. It's like his main gig. It's his full-time job now is running those. And he says the same thing. He's like, the big difference is you got to put $10,000 down. I mean, he's going to walk away from $10,000 down on a spot. He was like, dude, in 2005, 6, 7, you just like, he had bought a house when I was in high school. So it was like 2004. He was like, I went into the signing and wrote my name down and walked out with the keys to a $200,000 house. No money down, no closing costs, no nothing.
Yeah.
3.5% rate, and then 4.5% rate, and then 5.5% rate, and they did that variable rate thing where they bump it up 1% every year. He's like, that's where they got screwed. Was they would almost like give you money to go move into a house that you really couldn't afford, and then they'd rip, 2-3 years go by and the interest rate doubles, and you're like, I really can't afford it. But if I walk away, what do I lose?
Yeah.
Nothing, because I didn't spend any money to get here. I just lose all the interest, all the payments paid. But
yeah, and I tell you, if especially a young couple, you see it all the time. Not necessarily young. I mean, older people are guilty of it too. But if you go in and you say, okay, and you've already talked about it with your spouse, you're like, okay, we can probably really comfortably afford whatever it is, 150, 200, 250 grand. You get in there in front of the bank guy or the mortgage guy. He's like, nah, he said, you can budget for 400
based on what you've got here. Yeah. You're good.
So we're not going to account for this speed bump in the road that you may or may not hit.
Yep.
Everything's got to run perfect.
Yep.
And I think, and then all of a sudden it's just like going on a car lot or a camper lot or going in a retail store. Your eyes, you're drawn to the bigger, nicer stuff most of the time. There's some people that have some willpower, but
I'm not one of them.
Yeah. So then you start. The 150, 200 is no good anymore. We're not even looking at that.
Yeah. She's like, oh, we can get granite. And he's like, I can get that den where we can put the guys, the man cave.
Yeah.
We can get all these extra rooms we don't really need.
Yeah. and all that sounds. And I feel like when we built our first house, and I told you earlier, we've done 3 on this last one. Shelby said, and this 8 years ago, March. She said, get it right. I'm not moving again.
Yeah.
I'd rather build 2 houses than to move one time.
Yeah.
Because you got to move some stuff into storage.
Yeah, I can't stand that.
Then you're living in a rental, so you're kind of living out of boxes and stuff. But I love the building process. I love it. I could do it with my eyes closed.
Like picking the stuff out or setting the floor plan. Or
Shelby does all that with the color. She's awesome at that. Yeah. And the floor plan, and I get everybody there. I line the subs up.
Gotcha.
And that's a key part of it. It's just keeping somebody on the job all the time. But I say I loved it. I don't think I want to go through it again. We'll buy a house every once in a while here and there and flip it, but it hadn't really been the time to do that here. The last couple of years, but it's it was fun. It served us well, and we've had some pretty neat houses out of it. That being said, I feel like when we first started building, it seemed like everybody was in a square foot battle.
Yeah.
I don't know if you, so it seemed like the guy would say, how big a house you building? He's like, 1,922 square foot. oh man, mine's 2,022 square feet. I got you by 100, you know?
Yeah, you're like, buy a broom closet.
Yeah, I remember running into this guy one night at Lowe's, and he asked me, it was like the most random question. I was like, I don't even know what it is. And then whatever it was, his was 100 square foot bigger. I said, you know, we're good. I mean, nobody's going to fact check you on it, you know.
Yeah,
but I come to find out that was kind of his gig, you know. And then you get to the age we're at now, you know, so we're empty nesters. We have a dog, but I mean, we got 2.5 rooms we use in the whole house.
Yeah, it's like a 4 or 5 bedroom. Yeah.
But I go around every night and cut all the lights on, you know, because a lot like it lit up. So that's like a routine. Just every night do it, and then right before you go to bed, you know, go cut everything off. And but you know, we could probably. I grew up. My family when I was growing up, my brothers and sisters. There was 4 of us kids, mom and dad. Our house might have been 1,500 square foot, all said and done.
Yeah, and it worked.
Me and my brother shared a bedroom. Sister shared one, dad did. I always felt big enough to me. I didn't know any different. Right. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep.
We weren't in there a whole lot anyway. They made us stay outside, you know.
Don't come in until it's dark out.
And those were the good old days. But then you kind of look back and you're like, never remember anything really being tight, you know. Everything worked. And so you just kind of get it's the same thing with vehicles.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Go buy a Suburban. Well, we need this many seats because if we can haul this many people. Never haul nobody. Every once in a while, you know.
Like, well, that one time when we go to Raleigh to Angus Barn with those couples that are our friends, we can just all ride in one car, and it's like once a year you actually pull the third row up.
Yeah.
That was we got like the Pilot, you know, because it's got the third row. I don't know the last time that third row's ever been pulled up. Like, right. I know that it has a few times, but like, I can pretty confidently say since we've lived here, it's been down the whole time.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah,
had to have it. Though.
Yeah, but that's a selling feature though. If you know.
Same with the flip down DVD screen. Had to have it maybe 3 times the whole time we've owned it. Because now we got tablets. So what's the point of even having the flip down screen?
Now that was a big deal
when
my boys were younger. Yeah. I remember buying them. They were in the headrest.
Yeah, the little like Velcro kits.
Yeah, and then some had just had to flip up on certain different vehicles, and you know, it's funny how that stuff works. And then now it's kind of you see them on there and they look kind of crappy. Yeah. You know, you ride down the road and they're all twisted. But I mean, you do what works, whatever it keeps the babies. You know.
Well, yeah, like now they're still useful. Like if you have like young kids that can't sit there and hold the thing. So yeah, I mean, I get it for that, but. We had like an excursion. Remember those?
Oh,
they're sweet.
They're great.
So this like conversion company had bought a bunch of them and converted them to like travel vehicles and put DVD screens in them and stuff. And then they like went out of business. So they sold them back to this dealership in Columbus. My stepdad got one. And dude, we were like high on the hog. 4 kids in the bag. It was me and my brother and then my stepbrother, stepsister. We were like on top of the world. And then he started letting my mom drive us to school with it, which was the distance from the house to our school, which was like a different part of Columbus. So it was a private school, but we were conveniently 1 9-inning baseball game on Nintendo 64 from the house to the school. So I played a whole season of MLB in the car on the way to school. 162 games, and there was like roughly about that many days of school, and I punched out a whole season right there in the car. I thought we were on top of the world.
Yeah,
conquered it.
And I think, like for me growing up, I don't even think we had a car with AC on it till I was close to 15 or 16. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know any different. I mean, we knew other people had nicer cars, you know, but it's, I remember we got a station wagon. To me, it was one of the coolest looking cars, you know.
Did the back seat, did the bench face the back or did it face?
No, everything faced the same way. Gotcha. And, but it had AC.
You're not that old because they had those too, you know. I mean, they were like, "All right, that's really unsafe."
And I remember somebody at church saying, "I'm so tickled for y'all. Y'all got a car with AC," and I was like, "Huh?" You know. And then I was like looking back, you know, it's kind of, but you know, like again, we didn't know any different. Shelby and I will cut up with each other about who had the best, worst cars growing up. You know, I think she's got me. She said that. They had I think it was an El Camino, and when they went around the curve, if you didn't hold the door, like it was sling open. So it's, you know, but that was a time where you could lay back there or you could lay in the dash or whatever. There weren't no seat
in the back
belts.
window.
Yeah, it's or right in the back of the truck,
Oh yeah.
But it's
are you still able to do that down here? Is it
uh,
still legal? I know you don't ever see people doing it, but you occasionally do down here.
yeah. I really don't.
I can't remember if that's outlawed in Ohio or not too, but I kind of remember that when I was
Try
younger.
it
like,
tomorrow
it was
and get back with me.
Well,
Run up down Vernon or 70 and
I
I'll
won't
let
say
me know.
what I was gonna say, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just pushing for a little parking enforcement down here, and it's not a shot.
I started really illegally parked tonight because
Would you cross on the other side?
I'm actually parked over there. I was like, it'd probably be my son to come pick my truck up. He'd be like, Dad, I got your truck. They call me.
Oh, does he do the towing on the streets? Could we work out a deal with him?
He
That's what we need.
He don't really like to. He don't get involved in would he? But no, that's
not
not
big on
his.
repos either.
No, he's got one company he does
sketchy.
if it's voluntary.
Yeah, it's sketchy.
There's not enough money.
Some dude pull a gun on you over you picking up his car for you're getting $80.
Yeah, we're not.
I feel that.
I'm not into tow recovery. It's all his stuff completely. It's his own company and all. But we leave that to somebody else. He's chasing bigger.
Oh yeah.
Bigger rabbits, I guess.
I've been saying, been trying to get more funds for the KPD so they can pay the officers more and then have more of them. If you take the parking tickets and change them from $2, which is, in fact, that's terrible. If you'd make them $65, still not bad.
Yeah.
It's not going to break the bank. It's not going to kill you if you get hit with one.
Yeah.
So $65, no points, no increase to your insurance. But you'll think about parking on the opposite side of the road facing that way. You won't do that again. You'll be like, all right, learned my lesson.
Is it a big deal down here?
It's
I don't know.
Yeah, it's so I jokingly say that if there's 365 days in a year and say you don't write any tickets on holidays, so let's just take 20 off the top, 340 days, 345 days a year. If you wrote 3 parking tickets for $65 per day, that puts you over 1,000. We're talking $65,000 in parking ticket revenue right there by writing 3 parking tickets a day.
Yeah.
I can walk outside right now, and before I go a block that way, and that way, I guarantee you I can find 3 parking tickets. Especially the loading zone. For anyone listening, the loading zone is just a treasure trove of parking tickets all day long. People park in there, and then they go inside, and they'll be in there for 8 hours, and no one, it's no big deal. But if we had a fire and the building burnt down, I'm gonna, get to explain why the fire truck couldn't get to the spot to put the thing out, because I'm gonna be running down the steps. My building's gonna be burning, and they're not gonna be able to pull the fire truck in because 9 people are parking in the damn loading zone. It drives me crazy. But
maybe they'll take that thing, just
lots
run
of revenue.
Car. Yeah,
run it. I like when they do the BMW park. Have you seen that? There's an old picture on the internet. It's a nice car parked in front of a fire hydrant in a major city, and they had to come for a fire, so they bust the passenger and the driver's window out, and they ran the tube through the car.
I don't think it's been that long ago I saw that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Well, that's good use of tools there.
It sends a message.
Yeah, hey, if it gets the job done, it's I didn't know. I was telling you, we were talking earlier, and we were in Colorado a few weeks ago, and I'm just walking down the sidewalk there, doing some shopping. I see this guy, and he's kind of on his car, and he's kind of you could tell he wasn't the owner of the car, but he's got this little pad out. I was like, he's getting ready to light somebody up.
Yeah.
That's I didn't have nothing else to do. I was sitting there watching him, and he sure did. He lit them up and put one on the windshield. I was like, it's already hard to find parking there, period.
Sure.
And then so I have kind of mixed on that, because this person's probably there spending money.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be a regular. I doubt it's a regular. So I don't know. And then he's probably rode around. He or she's probably rode around for 30 minutes trying to find somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then
for sure.
But evidently there's enough money in tickets to justify having that guy walk around.
Yeah, in Columbus that was dedicated. They'd have I don't know how many people per day would do it, but I worked at the Hyatt at the convention center in downtown, and you drive to work, and you can either park in the parking garage and pay, or you can park at a meter on the street and you can pay. There is no such thing as I'm just going to park over there by Tommy's place and he won't care. That doesn't exist at all. You go, if you're in the hotel parking lot, you're pulling a ticket, and then you leave, you're paying based on how long you were there.
Yeah.
So some days they would have event parking where they would take your $8 or $10 up front when you pulled in. Usually we would get away with it because the attendant would leave at like 10 p.m. and they'd put the gate up. So if you pulled up to work and you're like, oh, cool, no event parking today, pull in, grab a ticket. I'm going to be here till close anyway. I'm leaving at midnight. They just let you out for free because they're not going to pay the person to be in there all night long.
Right.
And so then they did this thing where it's like, oh, it's event parking. So they take your cash up front and they hit you for like $8 or $10. So this one time I was going to work and I pulled in. I was like, event parking. I was like, nah, they're not getting me for my 8 today. I'll go to a meter. So I went, parked at a meter. I'm setting my alarm, coming out. You want to put 3 hours worth of quarters in the meter at a time. So I'm coming out, like my phone's going off. Oh, I got to go feed my meter. We would, watch each other, wash my tables. I'll go feed your meters, or you give me some quarters, I'll feed yours too. Like it's just like a part of daily life. Again, not Kinston. It's a much different lifestyle. But I went out there one day and I parked like out away from the smoking where we'd go out for breaks. I didn't smoke, but you just go out to chill for 15 minutes.
Right.
And I look out there and I see a little thing in my car and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I know I paid it today. Because, like some days you forget and you're like, I don't even have time to get out there, but I'm making $400 because I'm that busy. If they get me, they get me. It's whatever. And I went over there and I was like, this is BS right here. I know I paid it. And I look at it. And that sucker got me. It was April 1st. And they got me for my tag was expired. I genuinely just forgot to get my March replacement tag. Yeah. And they nabbed me for it. And I was like, dang it. And it was even more. And I was like, I just paid $85. That wasn't even the $65 ticket. I got the $85 ticket for the bad registration because it's parked on the street. And so you have to have the car registered to even be parked on the street. Yeah. I was like, man, I would have given them the $8 for event parking all day long because they can't give me a ticket in the parking garage. And I was so ticked about that. But like that stuff we've seen them like, they'll walk and they'll look at the numbers on the meter and they'll be like 4 minutes and they'll walk down. They'll kind of do this, look around, they'll stretch, maybe get their phone out a little bit, let 5 minutes go by, then they'll walk back down and be like, oh, red light's blinking. And they pull a little thing out and slap it on there. But I'm like, there was such a business there that.
Yeah.
But then you start thinking about, all right, I better not speed because if they're that serious about parking, they're going to get me for 10, if I go 9 over, 9 you're mine, they would start getting you. And so it just started to like, it wasn't really like, I didn't think, just me personally, that it was like over the top. Someday it was annoying, but it was like, hey, the rule is the rule, darn it. Like, yeah. And then when you left at night, you didn't even think about running a yellow light because you're like, they'd get you for like, we heard you accelerate through the yellow. That means you had the chance to hit the brake, but you hit the gas. Whoop. Yeah. It's like, it's such a stark contrast.
It's, I guess I said that if you give me a choice of any property, and this is just conversation, to have in Raleigh, give me the parking deck at Raleigh-Durham Airport.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
They've got it so dialed in that they don't even have tenants out there now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's $17 a day.
Yeah.
It don't matter if it's 20 or 25, and it's packed.
Yep. What else are you going to do?
Really not a lot of upkeep there. Not a lot of overhead, It's it's a cash cow. I mean, it probably does better than the airport itself. It's crazy, but and my wife, she's like, well, we can park over there by Sheets, and it's like, I don't know how much less it is. And she does that if she travels by herself. Uh-huh. I don't. I said when I get here, I'm ready to kind of. Yeah. And so, but that's the difference between she and I, and it's kind of become a joke at this point because she knows I'm not going over there, Yeah.
And, usually if I'm at the airport, it's for business anyway, so I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, and mine is strictly pleasure, you know what I mean? So I was like, if I'm spending money going on a trip and I bought the airplane ticket, I'm not going to sweat the other $5-10 a day,
Exactly. You got to get you a little LLC where you just like write about where you go, and then just put money into it and then just lose your tail every 2 years and then start a new one.
Yeah, it's
I'm sure there's a CPA out there crooked enough to make that work for you.
Yeah, we want to stay away from him. It's we don't. I've got actually my CPA is we went to school together from kindergarten to 5th grade.
Nice.
And we split, went to different schools, and he went to the only guy I ever know that went to the Governor's School of Math and Science, and super smart. And so he's my CPA now, and we kind of reconnected many years ago. Still friends, but he is like really, really conservative. And I was like, I need somebody that's not quite as conservative. He's like, no, believe me, so we always joke about that. But people come in and they ask me, hey, can we write this camper off on our taxes? Talk to your CPA.
Yeah.
I'm just a sales
Just
guy.
depends on what you got going on. Yeah.
Everybody, kind of reads that stuff different. I don't know. I mean, I want to tell you yes, but I really don't know. And whatever I say don't really matter anyway.
Exactly.
It's amazing what I think people do.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Use this write-offs.
Isn't that wild?
But,
it's like the old phrase about pilots. There's old pilots and there's bold pilots, but there's no old, bold pilots.
Right.
So you just don't make it that long.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hopefully you find enough, what do you call it, regular write-offs, but but the parking garage that would just be, and it's probably like that everywhere. I mean, I would think.
I think you're onto it. Parking garages, car washes, and self-storage units.
Yeah, so
hands-off money.
The car washes have me baffled right now.
Yeah.
So the ones on Vernon, they used to always kill it. You go in there and you feed it with your quarters, and the wine would come on. Those are a thing of the past.
Yeah, people are too lazy.
Well, it's now you. I don't know if you've been to Greenville lately and over in Goldsboro, that they are taking some very expensive real estate and putting in some really nice car washes.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there, and I'm not privy to the numbers.
You ready? I'll let you finish, and then I'll.
But the numbers have to work out.
Yes.
Because I'm going to say that the majority of these people aren't going there and paying cash for that whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I say cash, I mean, everything now is probably done with a card, but it's, and they're building another one I saw in Goldsboro the other day, and they just built one right there across.
Supposedly we're going to get one on Vernon here too, where across from the mall, across from the Truist.
Okay. All right.
Supposedly they bought that little front portion of the parking lot that's next to that whatever restaurant it was. That's
used to be Burger King. That was my first public job. It's
it's
for sale now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
they
used to be a Mexican restaurant.
So it was a Burger King, and then they built the new one across the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it turned into a Mexican restaurant. But that was my first public job.
Nice.
It wasn't nice.
It's fast food. It's usually not the best.
I say that. But I worked there for just a few months, and I got hired over at Kenny Shoes at the mall.
Made it, baby. You're in the mall now.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the mall, so then, you get to hang. That's where everybody hung out.
That's where you needed to be.
On Friday and Saturday night. And you had the mall, that's when it was off the charts.
Hey, you're getting paid to chill pretty. I mean, you're working, but you're where you want to be anyway.
Yeah, and then so you're there till 9, and then you just go out the mall, get in your car, and everybody rides around up and down Vernon, But yeah, I didn't mind selling shoes at all. So that's how I got into the whole sale gig. Gotcha. You know what I mean? And I knew working at Burger King, I couldn't have it my way. So I was like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I had to get out and do my own thing, man. I cannot stand being told what to do. It's just like a thing. I don't know why I'm so terrible about it.
Well, the older you get, the worse it gets.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to go and punch a clock for somebody or work for somebody now, I'd probably come unglued. But I'm very structured, and even though I worked for myself for 17 years in the RV business, I mean, and we probably got the best schedule for sales, So we're closed Sunday and Monday. Mm-hmm. Work every other Saturday. Then my other guy works, but we're only open till 1.
Yes, you're alternating half Saturdays.
Yeah,
that's pretty
so you
sweet.
Get a long weekend every weekend.
You work 4 days. That's sweet. Yeah.
And we only work 9 to 5. I mean, I have figured out that we do most of our business during the day, and you got to have a quality of life outside. I'm not staying up there till 8, 9 o'clock at night trying to sell a camper. If we miss a deal, we miss a deal. But I'm gonna have a life out, and I kind of did that years ago when Shelby was a nurse at the hospital, and we worked our schedules out where it all kind of worked out. And with our boys in school, we were very flexible between that, and they played every sport that was going on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and you look back now, and I know your kids are smaller, but that's a blur. At the time, it don't seem like it because you're trying to figure out how am I going to work a little bit today? How are we going to get to the ball game, practice or the game? How are we going to squeeze supper in there? How are we going to get homework done, get baths? And then we got turn around and do it all again tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know?
pay for it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just go through the whole motions again. And then it seemed like there was times, at school there before my oldest boy got his license. I was at the schoolhouse 3 or 4 times a day. I was like, I really need to work, some today, And then it's like you look up, and my oldest one graduated high school, and I could have bawled like a baby, I was like, what just happened?
Now what?
Yeah, I mean, we were running up to, he played on lacrosse teams in Raleigh, and played football out at school, and, and then all of a sudden, I got one more son left. He's an upcoming freshman, so my first one kind of helped transition me into that. I thought I was going to need therapy when my second one graduated, because he was real big into ball too. I was a big basketball player, football player, and for me, because I played ball in school and still love it, that to be able to watch your kids play, and just to enjoy it, and then it's kind of coming to an end, and so that was probably the biggest adjustment for us. But it was like all of a sudden it's over with, and it was like, but at the time when you're in that moment, like, man, it's like we don't have time to do nothing else. You know what I mean?
Look up, yeah.
And then it's all of a sudden it's over with. You go on to a new season of your life, and it's and you figure it out. I mean, but it's kind of. And I went back and tried to watch a game, and I didn't have a son in the game, and it was the only thing I didn't have a fear of that night was getting kicked out of the gym, because I won't gonna get I won't gonna get too riled up. But it's just not the same as But it's, man, I'm telling you, and I know people tell you this, that it goes by quick, and you're so busy raising a family and doing everything that comes along with it, whether it's work or whatever. Then you look up and boom, and it's kind of, it doesn't seem like I should have a 24-year-old and a 20-year-old. And but that being the case, kind of looking forward to the next season, if and when the grandkids come along,
Yeah, you kind of got like that little foggy period now where you don't have that yet, but
yeah, and so there's why we do the travel and stuff. Shelby says we feel as good as we're going to feel now. You know what I mean? So, because I do see it a lot where customers, and they'll come in and tell you, hey, because a lot of our customers are retirees. That has changed more in the last few years, because you got younger people getting out and camping too. But
yeah, it's kind of making a comeback with like the younger folks.
Yeah,
it was almost like I mean, you would know more than me, but it kind of felt like there for a minute, like people kind of got away from it, and then it's like like we camped a decent amount growing up, so it's something that we want to get into too. But yeah, it kind of feels like it's kind of looping back around.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. It's quality time. I mean, you're out there. There's nothing better than sit by a fire. And you're not roughing it on these campers. I mean, we got outdoor TVs, outdoor kitchens. They got fireplaces in them. I mean, it's solid surface countertops, recline. I mean, it's like that.
It's almost like if you're going to spend like 25 or 30 grand to like redo your outback, like your back patio and all that, you may as well just buy a camper and like do that same stuff just somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that nice.
And we see it's kind of a generational thing. You'll see where people buy them and say, well, my parents took me camping. I remember we had the station wagon with the bed in the back, and we went to the pop-up, and Daddy had a truck camper, and then graduated and got a nice travel trailer. And then when the kids got out of the house to go and buy a nice motorhome, then they kind of do all that, and then they come back and say, we just want something big enough for 2 people. Just because it gets in your blood, I think. And it's and you meet some really nice people camping. And I've always said, jokingly, I still tell customers this. So if you get to a campground and you don't like your neighbor, you change that in like 10 minutes.
See ya. Yeah.
Yeah. If you buy a house beside somebody you don't like, it's a little tougher, Yeah. And they kind of start joking about it. It's like, but it's
true.
People are sitting there waiting just to help you. I mean, people love to cook, in the campgrounds
it's a major
stuff.
community type event. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you'll get somebody to get sideways every once in a while, I'm sure, but that keeps it interesting.
We joked about that. We're trying to get this spot finished upstairs that we showed you, and I was for like the last 9 months we've been like for what we're paying in rent, we could literally have bought a camper twice now. Right? Do we just do that and put it at the campground on the other side of the river and just live over by the planetarium? And then, like, at least we're accruing the value of the camper, like, instead of giving someone else the money.
Yeah, it's
weird. And then we're like, no, we have 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 2 kids. That sounds like hell.
That's a tight space.
We can't afford that size camper, hun.
It sounds like a good idea, but it's for a family that
week
size.
Week 3, you're like, put your hands on the table.
We'll give this camper away. Just we'll lose $10,000 on it right now if we can take it. So.
We'll trade weekend at camper for weekend at your house.
Yes. But that's a nice little spot over there.
It is cool.
And I haven't been over there lately, but right when COVID hit, you couldn't really do a whole lot. We went over there and camped a time or two. Nice. So it's right on the river. Mm-hmm. The last time I went in there, it looks like it might could use a little bit of cosmetic work, but it's a great deal.
Yeah, for the price.
Yeah,
holy cow. Water and sewer for, I can't remember what it is now. It's like water, sewer, and electric for, I was like, that's way less than we're paying for utilities right now.
It's
you can run the AC all day.
And I believe they got cable over there.
I think you're right.
Also, and then it's right here downtown. You got the restaurants and tap room and all that. So
my mom and stepdad, when they come down, sometimes they'll drag the trailer and or their camper and they just hang out over there. They did it for 4th of July last year, which was really cool because then we went over there and watched the fireworks from over there.
You can see them right across the water, I believe. Yeah.
That it was blowing up over there for pun intended.
Yeah.
Campground was blowing up for the fireworks.
Yeah.
I don't know. My brother jokes with me all the time. Sometimes I'll say puns and he's like, that was good. And I'm like, shoot, that was really good. I don't even think about it. I think I just like inherently speak in puns now.
Yeah. Well, that kind of goes hand in hand with it though. It's a good little spot over there. And I forget about it sometimes, telling customers just because it's not on my radar because I live here,
Yeah, true.
But it's a good area. I know, and I think we talked about this. Well, I might have mentioned it to you in text the other day. So they did North Carolina does this mountains to the coast bicycle ride.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I did that back in 2017. I was riding a bike quite a bit back then. I did a couple mountain rides, and I wanted to do the mountains to the coast ride. It was really cool. But that year it came through Kinston. Mm-hmm. And out of all the stops, and we started in Jefferson, I think went through Elkin, Greensboro, Durham, so Chapel Hill. So you would stay in the town, and that town would they knew everybody. It was probably 1,200-1,500 people coming through.
Wow, nice.
And they're from all over the country and some outside the country. It's a pretty big deal. It was one of the coolest things I've done. And but I remember that was right after they got the motor lodge open there. And the chef and farmer was pumping the tap room, everything. And that was the highlight of everybody's trip, was the Kinston stop that weekend. I remember, and everybody, because, you meet different people. And I was like, we're coming through my hometown there, I was like, and everybody was kind of saying, like, that was a really cool spot, and we stayed in. The stuff at Chapel Hill, you can get that all the time, what I mean? But when they come through, and we actually stayed, me and my wife, she rode the eastern leg of the bicycle ride. She picked it up in, I think, Nightdale, Wilson, somewhere around there, and rode. And, but I stayed in a hotel each night, whatever town we were in. You could either camp at like one of the schools. I was like, nah. I said, I'm sleeping on a bed and getting a shower.
All day,
yeah. Because we ride 65, 70 miles a day, which it sounds like a lot, but it really won't, But we stayed at the Kinston Motor Lodge when we came through Kinston. And I don't live far from here, but I was like, I want to take in the experience.
Full experience,
And we were in there that night, and so you got to remember, I remember seeing that place before.
When it had the hourly rate on the sign?
Yeah. And it's I remember being in there that night and taking a shower. And I told my wife, I said, if you'd have told me 5 years ago that I'd been spending, I said, I told you were crazy. Yeah. And we were both kind of dying, but it was really cool. And this year it's coming back through Kinston. And so I thinking about signing up for it again.
The full run?
Yeah. If I do it, it would have to be the full run. Yeah.
Shelby going to go the full way? Is she going to
I
do a
think
half?
Shelby is done with it. She sold her bike, and
Gotcha.
she hated it. She did it because I did it. But and she did great at it. It just wasn't her thing. But I enjoyed it. I mean, it was kind of getting out and kind of, I don't know. To me, that was really cool, just riding from the mountains to the coast. Because when you drive to the mountains now, you're like, that's kind of a right good ride, you know. Mm-hmm. But it was really cool. A funny story. We were riding one day, and there was a pack of us, and I don't know. We're probably running 18, 20 miles per hour, you know, pretty steady speed. And all of a sudden, this guy comes flying past me, and oh man, I said, he is like mowing it down. And anyway, I didn't think much else about it. I was like, he's really killing it. And I was like, I thought I was a pretty good biker, you know. Mm-hmm. And we must have done a rest area or something. Anyway, I saw that cat later on that day. He went blazing by me again. I said, what is up? I said, he's got an electric bicycle. And I think he had like a prosthetic leg or something. So I said, okay. I said, I get it. I said, because he was making me feel really bad. You know what I mean? He was like whizzing by me. I said, but kudos to him, you know, for being out here. But I was like, there's no way he's that much better shape than I am, you know.
That dude used to be in the Tour de France, man. He's kicking tail.
But he was like, I mean, he was just killing it. And so anyway, but that was a really, really cool thing. So,
yeah, I could do it with the motorized bike. I think I could be hip with that.
You could do it with the really, it sounds like a lot, but
yeah, once you get into the motion, I mean, if you're training for it a little bit, or it's your average, it's like what you do for exercise. I mean,
yeah, it's me and a buddy of mine. He called me a couple of weeks ago. It was one of those pretty days in January, you know, right before all the rain hit.
Spring, yeah.
And he's like, "You want to do a bike ride?" And we rode 25 miles that day. It was just absolutely gorgeous, and it maybe gone an hour and 20 minutes or something.
That's not bad at all.
It's really not bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
So it's like you just feel so good, you know, like when you do it. The biggest thing for me is somebody texting and driving and not seeing me on the highway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, getting clipped.
I've never had an issue, so I've been lucky.
You get the guy that kind of comes over and sees how close he can get to you from time to time.
Most time, if people see you, most time they're pretty kind. You know?
Well, especially when you're in like a group like that, like in general, like the big groups.
I rode by myself a lot, and I would have the blinking lights on the back and front. But you know, and then you see people running off the road, you know, and you're like, man, if I'd have been right there, you know, it's just kind of so. I don't know. I reckon you just try to stick more country roads in.
It's like anything else, you know. If you read about all the things that can go wrong, you'll never get on the bike.
That's right. Yeah. It's
look at that. Like how we brought it all full circle. First thing we talked about to the last.
There you go.
No, that was fun. That's fine. No, that makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah, I would say that for the businesses, because that'll happen the end of September through the first week of October. That's going to be a big deal here. So
do people kind of come through at their own pace, or is it like checkpoints? Like, all right, you got to
so
get
Kinston will be the stopping point for that. That'll be the last leg, and then the final destination will be Emerald.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be like 70 miles. So we leave here, it'll finish up in Emerald. So they'll come in that night and they'll stay at the hotels here, campground, and they'll probably have it set up. I don't know where the sleeping quarters will be for people that are going to camp. But
so what we got to do, man. We got to put a couple of campers back here on the back lot and just Airbnb them that night, man. We can do this together.
I don't get in the rental stuff. Not on the camper side. It's,
I keep telling Austin Howard, he selling the sheds out there too on 70. I keep telling him, like, man, I don't know, I'm torn on this back lot. If I run one drain line and one water up in an electric, I can fit 3 or 4 sheds back there.
Yeah.
Turn them into tiny houses, Airbnb the tar out of them thing. I said, how much are them sheds? He's like, I got one right now for $6,000. I was like, I can have that thing upfit, ready to go with a little micro kitchen for like $6,000, or you know, what would I be like? Probably $11,000-$12,000. I'm like doing the math. I was like, 1 year, 2 year return on the money. It doesn't get much better than that.
Hey, if it don't work, you can turn around and sell the building. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or rip everything. It's a great in-law suite, you know, when they come to town. Hey, we got you this nice place. We got you a tiny home. No, like, this is a shed.
Yeah, because you don't want to get too comfortable.
Yeah, we don't want them upstairs with us.
Yeah.
2 bedrooms upstairs intentionally, just 2.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's like customers come in, they say, I want something that'll sleep 2, but will accommodate 4. We don't want nobody spending the night, you know what I mean? So
yeah, maybe the grandkids for an evening. That's
they'll tolerate them all day long.
Yeah.
But the kids, the grown kids,
nah.
Yeah, you can come by for dinner, but that's about it. Maybe.
Yeah, if you have too much to drink, you can sleep on the
couch. They'll probably call them Uber, to be honest with you. Like, get them out of here.
I was telling Haley was on the last episode, and I was telling her about when me and Steph went to our honeymoon in Miami, and it was 2012, and I was like, yeah, so we were trying to leave one hotel and get to the other hotel, and there wasn't Uber. We had to we were on yellowcab.com getting a rate from this location to this location,
right.
And we ended up just meeting some guy in a parking lot across the street, and he took us the route and all this stuff. And she was like, I never even thought about traveling without Uber. How is it even possible? And I was like, I know, you're making me feel kind of old, Haley. I'm not that. I'm only 34. You're making me feel like a decrepit old man.
Yeah.
What's it like to travel without Uber? I don't really remember either, except this one time. But
I tell you, it does make it super easy. And speaking of that, GPS.
Yeah.
So we went to Mike's farm a year ago. Well, we went this past year, but I remember this specifically. My youngest son, Nick, rode with me. And Mike's farm, I don't know if you've been there, but it's out in the middle of nowhere, if you leave here. And so I got it into GPS, in the phone, and it kind of takes you right there, but it's boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, I can't imagine getting here. And I said, it'd be hard if you didn't have GPS. And Nick was like, well, how did y'all used to do it? I said, you would stop at that gas station. I said, the guy would tell you to go down to the second pine tree and turn left where the bark's missing, and then turn right at Grandmama's, 2-story white house. And then I said, and by then you're going to stop and ask somebody else.
Yep, you're close.
He just couldn't, understand it. And I was like, it has really come a long way.
Yeah. I remember my dad did insurance, and some days we would have to go and take pictures of the front of the houses for the insurance company. Mm-hmm. So they'd have an image of the house, which most people today would be like, couldn't they have just gone on Google Maps and pulled the street view? But to go one back of that was we would print out the stupid MapQuest or the Expedia directions, from this address to that address to this address. And, he'd be like, here's the 70 pages of instructions. This is our route today.
That was big time, though.
It was you're checking off. You're turn left on Indianola. He's this is so crazy. Now you tell your kids, you're like, man, we used to have this thing back in the day where we had a map in the car, and you could open the map, and it would tell you, you look at the mile marker on the side of the road and then find where you are on the map. Yeah. And they're like, my kids are like,
it's
sounds really hard, Dad.
That's where technology is, that's where some of the good is.
Yeah.
And stuff
that.
Totally.
Speaking
of Uber, though, I think I'm right on this when you were talking about the yellow cab.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the cab system in New York City?
No, I've never been.
Okay, so I've been probably my first and last time. We went on Thanksgiving many years ago. But I was reading, so the yellow cabs are a big deal there. Yeah. I don't know, and I don't know that I'm 100% right on this, but I don't think Uber is allowed.
Yeah, they might have a mafia stranglehold on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when you buy, you can't just go there and start a yellow cab. You can't just buy a yellow car and get in the cab business. There's some type of emblem on that cab that you can buy that guy's car and his emblem, and that's how you get in the cab business. Oh. And it's pretty hefty. Mm-hmm. I mean, but you are buying...
It's like a business license, essentially.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the waiters and waitresses. I mean, you'll have grown men working at these high-end restaurants.
Oh, yeah, they're doing great.
Yeah, but if they get ready to retire something, you can buy their position, but I don't think you just go in and apply for it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I may be wrong on that part, but I know I read something on the cab about the emblem, and it was kind of interesting.
So they only it's like phone numbers. They only give out so many licenses to do that activity, and
that's right. And it's pretty coveted, and that's why I think they had such a problem with Uber and
that makes a lot of sense.
Lyft and them coming in. I may be wrong with that now.
They do that for trucking too, and miscellaneous random things like garbage collection is a thing like that. If it's not a city service, the mafia up there. It's pretty much everything is like the mafia there. So, fun side story: my dad is married to a lady who's from New York, Italian lady, Italian family. Well, her parents left and moved out here, so her and her sister and her parents live out here, Columbus. They're in Ohio, but Uncle Sal. Still back in New York, all of them, Dom, they're all in New York still. And she would laugh her tail off. hearing me tell the story. But Dad starts dating this lady, and we're like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, yeah, she's got family back here. And we start hearing a little more. I'm like, Dad, like, I don't know, dude. You better not piss her off because you're gonna lose a kneecap or something, So it's like this funny thing. He's like, no, I'm always nice to him. I'm real nice to him.
Yeah.
So they get along great. They've been together probably like 10, 15 years now. So she ends up telling us this story. One time, her dad really embellishes it a lot, I think, but he grew up there and then moved here or moved out at like 35 to go to the Midwest. So he's like, oh, you ever seen Goodfellas? And I'm like, no. And he's like, how could you not see Goodfellas? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really watch movies. He's like, so-and-so and so-and-so in that movie? And I'm like, sure. He goes, well, when you watch it, just know that, like, I ran with him. Like me and him were actually good friends. He ended up doing time, but we were good friends, and so took a real good liking to this other person in the family, and they kind of worked together. Well, anywho, her Uncle Sal now has a trucking business. He does dump trucks, miscellaneous things, and things like that. Well, at a certain point in time, and he may still to this day, there was one permit issued for the ability to dump off of the end of the piers. Into the river. I was like, how does someone come across being the one guy that's allowed to do that? A. And B, what would you need to dump into the water off the end of a pier?
With
like
concrete
a
attached to
body?
it.
Yeah. It's like, what do you mean he's got the only thing? And it was like, Dad, do not piss them off.
Right, for
you
real.
will be gone.
I may never see you again.
It was funny, dude.
I'm going to be down there on the end of the pier. Yeah. I have read, and I follow these different forums on social media or whatever for the dumpster stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think if I was up in New York and New Jersey, it ain't happening. I mean, they got such a stranglehold on the landfills and the territory, and they even have contracts, which I think is unfair, but I get it from a business standpoint where your local guys, your bigger companies can put dumpsters in the city limits, but your local guys can't. I mean, but you think everything operates the same throughout the country, and it doesn't.
Gosh, it's so different everywhere.
And that gets right on back to sweet tea. I remember the first time went snow skiing up to Vermont, and you got sweet tea? Well, no, we got raspberry tea.
Yeah, with the pumps.
That sounds nasty. And then I was like, you got sweetener? So I remember when I got back, and I don't drink sweet tea now, but I remember when I got back, I was like, I'm getting the biggest cup of sweet tea. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that you just think that everybody, it's the same thing, and it's not.
I worked for a restaurant up in Columbus called O'Charlie's, and they're around. Yeah. And they had sweet tea and unsweet tea. It was a big thing, I was like, man, this sugar water is amazing. I feel like a hummingbird, Give me some nectar. And so I kind of took a liking to sweet tea. Moved down here, my Bojangles, and I'm like, let me get a Cajun filet biscuit with fries and a sweet tea. And they're like, sure, come on up. And I got a tea that was not sweet. I was like, what the hell? I went back again. I was like, got it next day. I'm like, let me get a Cajun filet biscuit and a sweet tea. Sure. I'm like, it's not sweet at all. I was like, I thought they had the hookup on sweet tea down here. Yeah. And then over time, I realized that the only time you need to designate or specify what kind of tea is if you want unsweet tea. Right. So lost in translation, and I'm like, yes, let me get a sweet tea. And she's like, an unsweet tea? You got it, whatever. And I was like, you got it, Shug. And I'm like, no, I want the Shug in the tea. That's what I want.
Because they'll sugar you up there.
Yeah. But it was like, I had to learn that real quick. And so my dad doesn't drink it, but when people would come down, I'd start telling them, like, there's two things you need to know about Kinston. When the light turns green, say STOP and then go, or you're going to get T-boned because they're going to run a red light. Like it's good for one run red light every time it turns red. Yeah. And then if you actually want unsweet tea, just say unsweet. Don't, because up there the default is they're just going to give you unsweet. Yeah, actually.
It's understood that you want sweet tea.
Yeah. There for a minute though, it was definitely lost in the tongue. I was like, a sweet tea.
I want the good stuff.
And the lady goes, oh, you wanted a sweet And she was like, I had seen her like every night because I was just moved in and I was running the printer and I was hitting the same spot.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, I kind of feel like you wanted that the whole time. And I was like, it's cool. She was like, you aren't from here. I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah. I don't get the whole unsweet thing. I was like,
it's terrible.
Just drink water.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't stain your teeth.
Yeah. And I stopped. I hadn't drank sweet tea in a year. And I love it.
It's terrible for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is good.
But I realized I didn't like the tea. It was the sugar.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah. Okay.
I was just so. But anyway, I mean, I love it, and I could tear a glass of Smithfield chicken and barbecue sweet tea out because it's all got to do with the ice.
Yeah.
To me, if you ain't got the right ice, the tea is not as good. I don't know if that makes any sense to you at all, being from Ohio, but like Smithfield chicken barbecue I think it's called a party ice.
Is that like the shaved crunched ice?
Yeah.
Like if you got it out of your fridge, you would hit crushed?
Yeah.
Like
I would say that's close to it. Yeah.
I'm with that too.
And so, and if you don't put enough ice in it, then it's a waste.
Yeah.
I can't understand somebody says, I want to drink something with no ice. No, it's got to have the right balance of ice and tea.
Yeah, I'm with that too. Well, there was actually a thing, this is kind of really getting off the beaten path, but I think it's like McDonald's that said it's actually just like fountain drinks in general. Fountain sodas are actually designed to be mixed to a certain level of ice. And so sometimes they said that like people will be like, oh, no ice or light ice because they think they're going to get more soda. Yeah. And then they get it and they're like, this doesn't taste right. And it's because it's actually like the mixture of syrup, carbonation, soda water is all somehow correlated. It's like a little chemistry to how much ice should be in the thing.
That makes sense.
I never really thought of it that way, but yeah. I think I learned that in the food service industry.
Yeah, I had never heard that. Yeah, for me, I
might have made it up. I don't know.
I'm an ice guy. Yeah. Like my new habit now is Starbucks.
Yeah,
like ice coffee. I'm not a hot coffee. And they already got my order ready when they come in. They say to me, but if I don't have enough ice in it, I said, can I get a cup of ice to go?
Oh yeah.
And so now, unless they change staff, they know. It's just a pet peeve of mine, I guess.
I don't really have pet peeves other than parking in the wrong on the street.
Well, we've all got them. It just depends on what they are, right?
I know that's right. Well, I got to cut it. For some reason, my thing's running a little low on battery.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything? I don't even know if we got time. I think it's going to cut out. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. Super thankful.
Enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Learned a lot, as always, on these things. I love it.
Stop by and look at the RV sometime.
I will. Brandon's been trying to get us out there, so he's working.
And I enjoy seeing what you got going on behind the scenes there.
Oh, for sure.
It's out of my element, but it's interesting.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. It's fun. It's good fun. Well, thank you all for tuning in. This was Kicking It With. My name is Zac Holcomb. This is Jesse Harrison. This was episode 37. We'll catch up with you on episode 38.